back to the Next Wave podcast. Another episode. Sticking with it. Before we jump into it, I want to encourage everybody to help me out with the algorithm and get the message out there by liking, subscribing, commenting, and just overall engaging on YouTube. We're also on Instagram at Next Wave SF, and we're on TikTok at Next Wave SF. So Next Wave is not possible without your contribution. So anything you can do, we really appreciate. Today, I have a special guest, brother from the neighborhood, who's really taken off in entrepreneurialism in the city. I want to introduce Alex, owner and operator of Obsidian SF, a new cannabis dispensary here in the neighborhood. Appreciate you.
My pleasure, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir. Thank you for having me, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm a fan of just getting straight to it. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
We got a lot of topics that we want to uncover that I think will give a lot of value to my listeners. But I like to always start with personal journey. So let's take it all the way back to your upbringing,
Right.
And what stands out most about your upbringing, and maybe a connection to a higher calling and what you're into now.
And that's a hell of a question. Upbringing. Born and raised in San Francisco to immigrant parents from a small country in East Africa. My family were refugees who came here in the early 80s. So been in film all my whole life. Actually, when I was born, some people know it's kind of a staple in the community. Like the apartment we lived in was on top of Eddie's Cafe on Fulton and Divisadero.
Yeah.
So that's the house that we was born in. It was 7 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. Shortly after that, we moved to. We bounced around Fillmore for a little bit while we was looking for somewhere to settle in. I want to say around the time when I was about 4 or 5, we moved to KO over on 80th Street on the Ellis side in San Francisco, and pretty much been there ever since. And just like everybody else from Fillmore, we all have our ups and downs. Experienced all of the good and the bad that comes with that. That was early stages. Parents separated early, around the time I was 4 or 5, all that good stuff. So we had a unique situation where a lot of people may not understand this, but our folks was from another country.
Right.
So Pops didn't live with us at the time, so we pretty much had to learn this place on our own. Like, you feel me? My earliest memories and understanding of the world is in one of the most notorious neighborhoods in Northern California. So figuring that part out was interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine where that takes you. Navigating that, understanding that, and trying to be a upstanding individual within the parameters of where you grow up. You know what I'm saying? Abide by these rules and understand this, and so it was rough, but it was beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. East African parents, your upbringing household was more conservative, would you say?
I would agree with that. Yep.
How are you balancing the conservative nature of your upbringing and also trying to survive in a neighborhood like this? Like, you're making friends in a neighborhood.
Right.
Are your parents or are your parents accepting of that?
Right.
Is their image of the young men in the neighborhood the same as yours?
That's a great question. As far as trying to balance that, there really was no balance for us. We had a unique situation because my father, he was not in our household. So, and my mom, by the time I was 11 years old, she was, at the time they diagnosed her with terminal brain cancer, when I was about 11 years old. And several years later, we found out that they misdiagnosed her, and they, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But she was unable to take care of us the way that a mom would, or the way that she normally would have. So it turned out the opposite. We had to kind of take care of her over time. So Pops wasn't around, although his presence was felt. You know what I'm saying? He was authoritarian, real strict. You know, they come from a military background, all of them. You know, when they was young, like, so 13, 14, I got uncles 15, 16 that died in the war, you know what I'm saying, out there, the war that they were fleeing from. So we were all raised by soldiers who all have their own traumas and stresses and things that they dealt with. A lot of us, that generation of like those first generation Eritreans that came from that part of Africa, or that was raised here with parents that came from there, experienced an additional set of trauma and stress and pressure from their parents, as well as the community that they grew up in. You know what I'm saying? So for me, there was no balance. It was just, you know, figure this shit out. You know what I'm saying? So so it was us learning as fast as we could, hard lessons. We grew up in the '90s, so this is the era where, you know, the term African booty scratcher was thrown around a lot. Everybody, especially in these inner city, like you grew up in the hood, everybody has a reason that they're gonna be teased. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
That's just how that goes. You know, so I wasn't, you know, I don't feel like I'm a victim or nothing like that, but that was just my specific thing. You know what I'm saying? So we went through a lot of that, and so with that, you learn how to fight fast. You know what I'm saying? So we was outside chunking them all the time. You know what I'm
Also
saying?
helps to have older brothers too.
Oh, yeah,
so.
absolutely. I had one older brother, you know what I'm saying? And so it was just really just me and him outside. And I was the loudmouth, the one that, you know, liked to talk a lot. He was the one that was quiet and got busy, you know what I'm saying? And he had some size on him. I was always skinny, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we won some, we lost some. I never seen my brother lose no fight, though. But me, I won some, I lost some. And, you know, every other day we was out there chunking them. Like you had to get into it to be able to hang outside. You know what I'm saying? And so we just kind of you know, went through that process and learned as much as we could. And you know, after some time, you know, you earn your I guess your privilege to be outside. And, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Time goes by, and now you're 15 and 16, and you know. You're almost able to drive and do your own thing, and you know you all go to the same schools and you play on the same teams together, X, Y, and Z. So over time, you know, people got used to us being there, and kind of the ones who grew up close to us, we were locked in since we was little kids, you know. And so I got friends that I'm still cool with, you know, real close to since pre-K. You know what I'm saying? And so like in the neighborhood type situation. And so you know, time helps get past, you know, all of that type of stuff, and then experience and being, you know, genuinely who you are. You know, you naturally gravitate towards the people that you know, that you're supposed to at least. And so
Did you, you know, just speaking about the environmental challenges that you just talked about, did you know at the time that it had a huge effect on you, or is it something that you're able to reflect on at this age or in your adulthood and be like, man, like that shit was crazy. That was not normal.
yeah, I think at the time it was completely normal to us. You know, that's all we knew. So that was my earliest understanding of the world. You know, so you know, all the negative shit. I don't want to perpetuate no stereotypes, nothing like that. But you know, all the you know, everything that you see in these type of situations, you know, all the fighting and the murders and the drama, and you know, that all was fairly normal to us. You know, and so over time, I began to realize, especially when I left the Bay Area, you know, that's when I started to realize that that's not normal, like, you know, and I started having, you know, different either business relationships or friends from other regions or other cities or just other, you know, parts of town. And you kind of get a glimpse into their life, and you get to understand, like, wow, like that's not nowhere near norm. Like, you know what I'm saying? If it's actually the polar opposite, you know. And so we're living in extremes, you know, extreme conditions, extreme, you know, ideologies, extreme actions. So it was when I got older when I realized that it was not the norm, and then it got even more underscored for me when I had my kid, you know, when I had my son. So naturally, you know, any man who's a good father is gonna want different for their child, you know.
Right.
And so that was kind of that's kind of been my last, my thought process for the last 14, 15 years since my son been around, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What family values are you trying to break that weren't healthy for you, and what are some family values that you want to kind of perpetuate and develop in your son?
Family values, like I said, my folks, pops was not around as much as he wanted to be, but he was doing what he had to do, and so he was providing from long distance. Like, you know, him and my mom wasn't on the same page, but I definitely want to like change the physicality part and the like they come from a different generation where they had to talk to us a certain way, you know, and treat us a certain way. Like we came from, like pops was real militant, like a real soldier, just like many other folks from that era, like other Eritreans or whatever the case. And so we had like the physicality, like we'll get, you know, same shit everybody else deals with, but just a little more, you know. And so you know, it's one thing to get your ass whooped, but it's a different type of ass whooping when it's foreign. Like, you know what I'm saying? That foreign ass whooping, it hit different, you know?
Yeah.
And so, so it was a lot of that, you know? And so I'm not as physical with my son. When I need to be, you know, we you know, I yoke him up, but I haven't had to because he's you know, we talk, we communicate, you know, he's a good kid. And so, you know, the physicality and you know, the lack of understanding. My situation was a little different because they was coming from a whole nother world.
Yeah.
You know, trying to guide us in this world. You know, so that's something I would definitely change. But as far as the things I would keep, you know, we are definitely big on just. I mean, it's a lot of things, but families just in general. You know, looking out for your family and you know being honorable and you know, nothing come before your you know your family. Your respect your mother and father. You know, all of the you know the traditional stuff. You know, dinner like the stuff you see in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Similar vibes. You know.
And you've been around the neighborhood for a while.
Right.
I think Fillmore has changed a lot. I think, you know what I'm saying, you think about gentrification. What are some of the major changes in the neighborhood that you've seen? Are all the changes bad? Or, you know, is there any benefit to some of these changes?
It's a lot of changes. I personally don't appreciate the dwindling or you know the lack of black folks that are here right now in comparison to my upbringing here, as well as the number of kids. Like I remember, you know, back in the day, it was a gang of us outside. I remember seeing you, your brothers, and it was a lot of people here. You know, a lot of families. And now it's just very it ain't no more kids in the neighborhood like that. You know what I mean? And then it's just like the people that was here that made it a real neighborhood. You know, you got people that felt like aunts and uncles, and just you know that energy, the soul is completely like detached from this neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? It's very sterile and very different. A few of us have managed to hang on, but it ain't what it used to be. You know what I mean? So so a lot of that. Yeah, that's one big thing that's you know apparent. It stands out. It's obvious. You know. Yeah, that's a big one for me.
You know, one of the changes that I have, or I'm excited to see, is more black entrepreneurialism.
Right.
And kind of segue into your new ventures.
Right.
Congratulations again on your honor. I know Dean Preston pulled up and gave you the honor.
Right.
In the dispensary. That was dope.
Right. I appreciate it.
How did you get into that? How did that start?
That's a good question. It's a loaded one, but we'll I'm gonna keep it you know as clean as I can. You know, because we definitely gotta being in a new position that I'm in. I kind of gotta watch what I say.
Sure.
A lot of times, a lot of eyes on me. A lot of you know different relationships, different kinds of people. You know, and so I definitely try to you know. But to answer your question, I had been involved in cannabis. You know, they call it the traditional market. You know, some people call it the black market or whatever the case. You know, since I was here in the neighborhood and a long time ago, and I started really, you know, fucking around. You know, out of state in like '06, you know, and long story short, it treated me really well. I navigated that space and I excelled in it, and over time, I just thought if I could do this the right way one day, I will. And you know, you have your ups and downs with it. I don't want to sit here and glamorize anything or make anything sound better than what it is. You know, and so I just had a knack for it. And you know, in time, it was something that I really enjoyed doing, as well as it taking care of me in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, as soon as the opportunity presented itself, someone called me like, "Hey, man, my folks called me and said, hey, they're doing this thing. It's called the Equity Program in San Francisco. You should look into it. If anybody could do it, I know you could." And so,
What was the basis of the equity program?
great question. So, essentially, if you grew up, well, this was a program started in Oakland, basically here to offset some of the imbalances or injustices in the cannabis space. So while, you know, people who are wealthy or have the right hue or whatever the case, are able to, you know, flourish financially, you know, while many of us, black folks, you know, brown folks, whatever the case, Latino, are arrested for the same, you know, situation. It's kind of outrageous, you know. And so this program was basically established to offset some of that, because there's a statistic out there, I want to say, I don't want to misquote it, but we're arrested, you know, far more frequent than white people, you know, our white counterparts in the United States. And so while they make money for it, we do it, you know, in a different way, and we, you know, tend to get locked up. And so that program, the stipulations were you either had to have a felony related to cannabis or have an arrest record relative to cannabis, or you had to have went to school in San Francisco, and then you had to have grown up in a certain zip code or area that was impacted by the war on drugs, you know, by the war on drugs. So me growing up in Fillmore, I qualified. I do have a felony for cannabis as well. And so I, you know, went to school out here. So those are some of the stipulations that I qualified for, you know. And so, you know, so essentially, you're given an opportunity. You get first dibs, or actually they closed the requirement was that in San Francisco going forward, if you wanted to open a cannabis related business, you would have to work with an equity applicant, someone who meets all those qualifications that we talked about, you know. So with that being said, and you had to come from a certain background, or you had to make under a certain amount, you know. These were other stipulations outside of the felony and the going to school in the city and so forth. And so I qualified, I went for it, and you know, a few years later, here we are, you know. And so yeah, there's a lot more that goes into that. And if you want to dive into it, I don't mind, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, like finding the location, because I think, I mean, everything about it is just top tier to me. I'm super impressed when I walk in. The customer service is high.
That's love.
Your selection is fire. How did you get the location? The location is probably the best thing about it.
That's love. I appreciate that, bro. The location, it actually took me about 8 or 9 months to find the location. It wasn't easy. So I had been calling around for some time. Like the step one is find a location. No, step one is actually get verified by the city of San Francisco, and you got to meet all those criteria. So,
and then they front end the funding.
Not really. Nah, not even actually. I'm gonna get to that. That comes way down the line.
Okay.
So yeah. But so you get what's called a equity status verification or equity ID number through the city of San Francisco. So you meet all those criteria. You either have a felony or you have a cannabis related arrest. You know, you went to school in the city, you grew up in a certain neighborhood. Okay, boom, fast forward. Now you got to find a location. I'd say 90%, 95% of the people that are trying to be, you know, open cannabis businesses kind of give up at this point, you know, and I say that just to emphasize how difficult it is. And so when I was out looking, you know, most of the landlord. Well, let me set the stage. San Francisco at the time, and even still today, is some of the most expensive real estate in the country, let alone in the world, let alone the country. You know, so it's real competitive. Right now, office space, retail space is not as hard to find. It's a little more, you know, plentiful, I guess, because of the state of the economy.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
right. But at the time, it was real competitive. So this is 2018 going into 2019, and then
Oh, damn.
yeah.
So this is
yeah,
6 years in the making, 5 years in the making?
something like that. Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
that's when I originally started my search
Yeah.
for the location, and so I have been calling everybody. You see these retail locations, you know, available or whatever the case, and 9 out of 10 of them will not do cannabis-related business because it's not legal federally. So that's your first challenge right there. So you got to find a landlord that's willing to play ball, and so that was hard. You know what I'm saying? Because even like how it works is 9 times out of 10, those type of calls come through relationships in that
Yeah.
space. You know, you have, I got a friend that owns a property over there in X, Y, and Z. I really don't know too many people that own property in San Francisco, or at least that own commercial property, you know.
Yeah.
And so now I got to go fend for myself and figure it out. So boom, I'm calling everybody. You know, I'm getting hung up on.
Yeah. Damn.
You know, I'm getting people that will say, you know what, we're kind of interested, pull up. I pull up, they see what I look like. You know what, I'm sorry, it's no longer available. You know what I'm saying? That's actually happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was times where time that went on, and it was times where I felt like, you know, just like, damn, I'm going to take a break. So I take a 2-month break just because I'm tired of looking every day, and I'm tired of getting hung up on or, you know, pushed off to the side. And so I kept going, and one day I just, you know, I was like, man, it'd be dope if I found something in the neighborhood, you know. And so I was.
That was my next question
Yep.
were you could have gotten anywhere in the city,
Yep.
and it was just kismet that you got it in the neighborhood.
It was partly deliberate, but it was also like I went through this phase where I wanted to do something in the neighborhood originally, you know, and how I even came to that, you know, idea or that thought process was that started out of town actually when I was in Atlanta, but that's a whole nother conversation. We'll circle back. And so I started wanting to do it in the neighborhood, and it got really difficult. And so months had gone by with no luck, you know. So I ended up looking different parts of the city too, just to see what I could find. And so I didn't give up, and I just kept going. And I finally found something, you know, right there. I called the lady, and at the time I had a little bag. I was doing cool, and so she told me. I called the number. She picked up, and you know, we had a conversation. And so I put my best foot forward. You know, she told me she had a couple of other larger companies that I was competing with. And so, you know, I threw everything I had at her. I don't want to say everything, but I threw, you know, something nice at her. And she let me in, you know.
And that was your own private funding,
Right.
your own money that you put up.
Absolutely, yep.
So what is the program doing for you? It sounds like you just
I'm gonna be honest, bro. That program, there's multiple parts to it. The program allows you the right. You know, you are entitled to apply for a cannabis business, right, through the city. So you are permitted to apply. So hey, you, Mr. Such and Such, who grew up in Fillmore or Hunters Point or whatever the case, because of where you grew up and, you know, your situation, your status, you are entitled to apply because, you know, there's been injustices in this space, so forth. Now, the real question is, how many people that grew up, that meet all of the criteria, that grew up in these situations, would actually be able to pull off opening a cannabis business with the funding requirements, the knowledge of working the industry, navigating the city's departments, you know, because there's so much that you gotta damn near be your own lawyer. You know, you gotta understand contracts. You gotta understand how to negotiate. You gotta understand, you know, navigating the city's planning department and the building department, and you know, it's just a lot that goes into it. You know, you gotta understand a little bit of construction. You know, I learned a lot during this process because You know, you got to understand the construction build out. You know, there's a lot to it, and so I've always been the type of person that, like, no matter what I jump into, I'm gonna see it through. You know, and I try to be a man of my word, and that's just, you know, I said I was gonna do it, and I did it, and it's like, you know, and I've been, there's been multiple situations and points in my life where I've done that, and I've gotten to the point now where I'm a firm believer of, you know, whatever you really, you know, invest your time and energy into, you know, it'll happen. You know, you just got to be serious about it, you know, and you got to have some focus and some, you know, some determination, and everything will pan out, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a little bit of my journey with that. There's a lot more to it, but the cold part is, like, you really, it's damn near next to impossible. It's almost an empty gesture, you know, to be honest with you. The whole idea of an equity applicant, and many people could echo my sentiments, like, you know, it's not easy. You know, it's next to impossible because how it's set up right now, let's just say someone does find a spot. Now you need X amount of, you know, several $100,000 just to get the thing going, because you know, you may have to pay construction, you know, costs. You may not, depending on if the place is already you know, designed for a cannabis space, you know, or that type of business. You know, if you're doing a retail establishment.
Yeah.
There's other situations too. You could do grow ops. You could do, you know, there's a whole bunch of other situations. But when you make it past that point, you know, then the city requires you, the process requires you to pay rent at this location that you cannot open for up to, you know, on average 2 years.
Wow.
Right. So now, to me, yeah, that says, right, that says that either they don't really want people to open, I mean, equity applicants to be able to open this business, or they're forcing us to partner with larger corporations, you know, to, you know, it's almost like it's like I said, it's an empty gesture, you know. It sounds good, you know what I mean? But
I talk a lot about performative justice, performative activism.
Right.
Black Lives Matter is now a commodity. Racial justice is now, it's now cool, it's trendy.
Right.
But there's not much, it's hollow.
Right.
Right? There's not
Right.
much substance behind it.
Right.
Do you think that that's what I'm hearing when I hear you say, like, an empty gesture? Like, it's so difficult to turn that corner. Like,
Right. Yeah, I would say so. I also know that, like, you know, San Francisco is buried in bureaucracy right now. Like, there's so many rubber stamps you got to go through and red tape, and it's like, you know, for someone in this situation, there may have been good intentions at, you know, where it started at, but somehow, some way, first of all, the city's gonna need their cut, you know, and that's just that, you know, we start there, you know, and that's business. That's how, you know, that's just how things go. But and it really sends the message, like, if you don't got a bag, like, if you don't got it like that, get out the way. You know what I'm saying? That's what I took out of it. That's what I learned, because it's a lot of I don't want to go too far down that path, because I don't want to sound facetious or negative. You know what I'm saying? But my message is pretty much, you know, people can do things. You know what I'm saying? You just really got to be focused.
a child of immigrants, do you think that has fostered a hustler spirit?
I think so. You know, when you have like a global perspective, you know, I think it definitely helps you appreciate the opportunities that you have in front of you. I think, I also have a unique situation where, although my father wasn't in our household, what he was doing was running the business, you know, and so I definitely got a chance to watch him do his entrepreneurial thing from long distance, you know. And you know, my younger days, I would spend time with him. Like, he'll come scoop me up, and we'll go 6 in the morning. He'll go pick up some groceries or something for his restaurant type. You know what I'm saying? So, although I hated doing it, you know, I wanted to be outside with my friends or be asleep. You know, and I did get a chance to see that. And so yeah, I do think that, because he somehow, some way, when they got here, you know, my father was a unique dude. He spoke 7 languages, you know, and when he got here, shortly after they got here, somehow, some way, he opened up a restaurant on Hayden Ashbury, you know. I remember asking, before he passed, though, a few years back, I remember asking him, like, hey Pops, like, I don't understand how you did that with 5 kids, like, and you just got it, and English was your seventh language. It's like, how did you do that, And his answer was simply, he was a real, like, you know, he act like the character Tony Montana. That's really how he acted in real life. You know what I'm saying? That's what he reminded me of. Like, and he was real nonchalant and real like dismissive. He was like, he kind of like, man, you just do it. Like, fuck you ask me silly ass questions for. Like, you just do it. You know what I'm saying? And in that second, like for a second, I felt like, damn, he didn't really answer my question. But then again, I thought about it and I was
Starting
like,
to connect now.
yeah. And I thought about it, like it took a second and it registered, and I was like, look. No overthink it, just do it. You know what I'm saying? If you really are who you say you are, go do it. And that refers to every aspect of life, whether it be business or whether it be, relationships or whether it be whatever, in any regard, So just, be a man of action, and try to walk a straight path, but nonetheless, if any, whatever comes your way, stand on whatever you stand on.
Yeah.
And handle business, and that's just that, and that's how I try to live my life,
Wise words.
Yep.
Do you think you've made it?
Not even close.
Just got so much on your plate right now.
Nah, this is a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Like my people really, we ain't come from too much, so I got a lot of things I'm trying to do, and it's not all about financial gain for us. Like, I got a lot of people I want to look out for, honestly and truly. My goal, long term, and this may, I don't know if this is a question that you had later on, but I'm here to change culture. Like, you feel me? It's bigger than a dispensary. I don't mean to sound nonchalant or unappreciative of my situation, because I know that, some people think it's a lot. Like, they think it's, but in reality, like, it's a stepping stone for me. It's the tip of the iceberg. I got a lot of things I want to accomplish right here in this neighborhood. I'm one of those people. Like the example I gave my pops. Like, I don't like to talk. It's funny that I'm on a podcast because it's not really my thing. Like it's a lot of people that's gonna watch this that don't even know my voice sound like. They see me around. They see me, and they know. I've been at motion, like not to sound cocky, like always, and that's it is what it is. But I've never been big on the talking. I just like to do. But I will say that I'm here to change culture, and I'm here to impact a lot of these youngsters, man, and show them a better way, and sometimes I question how, you asked the question earlier, but I question things myself, like how is it that I got interested in this? Like, why did I choose the things that I chose,
Yeah.
And, why do we like, is it music? Is it, it's a lot of things that influenced us, like, our upbringing. And then what are those things that influenced those, that, that echo chamber that we're in, these little bubbles, these little pockets of bullshit, you know what I'm saying? And negativity and, death and destruction. What is it that influenced that? I zoomed out, and I look at things, as a whole, and I try to question everything, and so I try to impact those things, and I want to do a lot for these kids, man, and it's hard to do things for a grown man, grown ass men ain't gonna listen, a lot of times, and sometimes they will, and I'm not saying that I'm not here to help them either, but I want to do a lot, and through action, we come from a visual community, we come from a visual people, they don't want to hear you talk about what you did or what you about to do and X, Y, and Z. You got to show them, especially in this Instagram era that we live in, everything's a picture, you know what I'm saying? Like, so,
How do you think you could get to a real place with our, this current generation of young men? That's my target audience. You know what I'm saying? I think inner city men, 16 to 25.
Right.
How do you think we can get to a real place? What are some of the things that make you sick to your stomach when you see it?
Getting to a real place is being a real person and doing real things and impacting people. Like, the things like when I see things perpetuated or the cycle continuing, we all got partners that died out here, and when I see these youngsters doing it, this shit it break my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like but I understand that's just the way the world is right here. But I do know one person can make change. It sounds corny,
Yeah.
but one person could absolutely make a difference, and I'm a firm believer of that. And I'm here to be a walking example, but I'm also here to make other people walking examples too. And change things through actions and through substance and through like I said, changing the culture. There's a dark cloud over this shit. You know what I'm saying? Everything around the areas that we grew up in, and somebody got to do something about it. So I'm not nobody's savior. I don't want to make it sound like I'm the one that's gonna do this, and that. I just know that there's a lot of people out there doing good and handling business the right way, and I want to contribute to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you found success, have you come across people who want hella handouts and like hella free shit? Like how do you handle that? And like what advice would you give to somebody who's coming up? Cause I feel like you can't really avoid that.
Right. Facts. Yep. That's a good question. Yeah, we see it all the time. And I think most people know my demeanor. They know, how we respond to something like that. Sometimes I come off serious. Sometimes I don't mind helping people, that really need help. But if you are a grown ass man just asking for a handout, I don't have no problem telling you no. You feel me? I've never had a problem saying that. So I'll look you in your eyes and say, nah, But if I see that you are, an elderly person or somebody that's going through some things, that's really struggling,
Yeah.
I'm for sure gonna help even without you having to ask me. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I've always been like that. So it's in terms of just a handout, just to be handing out stuff. I'm not a believer of that, but I am a believer of putting stuff where putting help where it needs to go. I think of things different. I challenge things. Like you see how Thanksgiving, motherfuckers handing out turkeys,
Yeah.
and it's like that's cool and all, but if you're homeless and you're doing bad, where you gonna cook that turkey at? Like, what's the point of that?
I used to think about that when I was a kid.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, do something that's meaningful. And I'm not knocking nobody. If that's what you think helping is, do that. You know what I'm saying? More power to you. But I'm gonna do mine my way. I'm gonna run my play. And yeah, that's
You ever get people that come into the shop and want free shit?
Yeah. Nah, I can't say I do. I'll say people that want discounts, but nobody just comes in and straight up. Like, the setup, like, I think it looks, one of the things, I wanted to have something nice in our neighborhood. I think we deserve nice shit, too,
It is nice.
So, yeah,
Make sure you
I appreciate
head over
it,
to Golden Gate to visit Daryl at Obsidian. It's a nice setup.
That's love. I appreciate it.
Do you do, like, any neighborhood discounts or anything like that? Or, like,
100%,
like a membership, the more you buy, the more you
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a rewards program.
Okay.
We definitely got a neighborhood discount.
Okay, I gotta tap into that.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's already racking up once your name going to, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. It's automatic.
Yep. So we got a little app you can sign up for and everything else, and that's where you would claim it. But yep. And so definitely do a neighborhood discount. That's mandatory. I gotta look out for my that's what I'm here to do. You know what I'm saying? That's the greater goal. You know what I'm saying? Dispensary was top, at the bottom.
Yeah.
So absolutely neighborhood discount for certain.
Okay.
Yep.
Do people tell you look like Nipsey Hussle?
Yeah. I got it once or twice. Nah, but I've been getting it for a minute.
Yeah. I got some questions here. I'm gonna just fire them off. How did your experiences growing up in a neighborhood with potential dangers shape your entrepreneurial mindset and your approach to business?
You learn to be really you move with your head on a swivel. You learn to see things from long distance. A lot of the same rules apply. Yeah, you're a little sharper. You're a little more. You be on your toes, and you're able to sense things that are not meant to benefit you or to impact you positively or dangerous. And so forth. So it kind of goes to the same thing with the business side. For example, I was given, I was offered. I don't think we went too far into the process of the dispensary thing. Like I was offered like a whole bunch of like a couple of well a few organizations reached larger companies reached out to me like, oh, you got that nice space over there, okay.
Cannabis organizations.
Cannabis, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, larger companies. And hey, we got this contract for you. If you let us do business with you, X, Y, and Z, we run the operations, just sign right here. We'll send you over this, this document, and sounds good. You feel me? And
Yeah.
especially when they tell you the number, and you see the number, and it's like, okay, all right, you feel me? This, this why, this makes sense, and so, or it sounds good, and so, you do a little digging. And you this is where I say you had to kind of damn near be your own lawyer, I mean, although I did have lawyers, I still got lawyers in the cannabis space, but it's hard to find a good one, because, yeah, I'll come back to that too. But you learn to see a shark, you learn to read people, body language, you get context clues, and so it being in those situations where, you grow up in a dangerous environment, it definitely has some transferable skills,
Yeah.
into the business world. So
Sure.
yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah, so you coming with this shark, you got this shark contract for me, trying to be, big wig, shark, and I'm just a sharky, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so what they say, like, it's, ain't no game like Filmo game, and I believe in that, like, cause traveling, you get to see how different we are. You know what I'm saying? It's like it really it benefited me in that way too. Just relationships across the country. Growing up here, and yeah, so I would say growing up in that type of environment,
Yeah.
Definitely translates in the business world well.
What kind of mentorship or guidance did you have along this process?
Honestly, I would say I've had people in my life that either directly or indirectly help me. I study people. I tell my son all the time. Every good leader knows who and when to follow. And so I don't have anybody that directly like held my hand or like took me under their wing. I did a lot of that on my own, to be honest with you. And so, but I definitely, I try to learn when older people talk. I try to peep what they say, and I take it with a grain of salt because there's certain things that they might drop a gem on you. They might say some shit that's outdated that don't really apply. And so I'm always a student, in general. So you could say something right now that I'll take and I'll keep with me forever.
Yeah.
And I'll try to. The important thing is not just listening, but it's applying what you learn. And so I became that kind of individual where I make sure that I apply, the lessons that I learned over time,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know you just said you would go back to the lawyer thing, but how do you navigate the legal and regulatory landscape in the cannabis industry?
It's difficult. That shit is difficult, bro, because it's like not only do you got to worry for the predatory contracts with the big wigs and the corporations, because what they were offering me was similar to a 360 record deal.
Yeah, I was just gonna sound like a record deal type
That's
thing.
exactly what it is. Like, you have no power, no control. They make you an employee at your own company, and they cut you a little salary. You can't touch the money. You can't hire nobody. You can't fire nobody. All you get to do is tell them how your store look. You know what I mean? And that's what they. Oh, what do you want for the design? We'll throw some graffiti on the wall, whatever. What do you think is good? They told me some old stereotypical bullshit like that. My spot don't got no graffiti. It's like boutique style,
Yeah.
And so they just gave me the stereotypical shit that they thought a young black man in San Francisco would say from from the hood or whatever the case. So the legal side is just as bad because you got lawyers that's trying to get you too. I had this one predatory contract come across, my desk, and the lawyer who introduced me to them was basically trying to get some back end action
Taking
from
a
them.
cut.
Yeah,
Wow.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I figured it out and I asked her, like, hey, check this out, like, can you do that? Like, is that like so? I was talking to them, and they was trying to cut her out the deal, and they was like, that's how cutthroat this industry
Yeah.
is, man. So they're like, yeah, what do you think about X, Y, and Z, a lawyer? I'm like, she cool. Like, why you say that? You know, well, you know, da da. And I asked her about it later on down the line, and she was like, nah. I'm like, you sure that's not a conflict of interest?
Yeah.
And she, nah, you can do that. Oh, okay. That's when I knew I was severing ties immediately. You know what I'm saying? So
Seriously.
yeah, you got to catch wind of this shit. So navigating the legal space is really just you going off of you really got to go off of referrals if you can. And even those referrals ain't even guaranteed. You know, so it's a new space. Everybody's trying to profit. For some reason, the cannabis space a lot of times invites the wrong kind of person, you know, who got bad intentions, you know, and so or who's used to shortcuts or you know just want to cut throats and whatever the case. So yeah, navigating that space is difficult, but you got to take your time. And I would recommend if anybody else is doing it to make sure that you go off of referrals and as best as you can, or go through you know some sort of organization who can guarantee that you know they'll set you up with somebody good, and if not, they'll replace you with somebody else. Replace them with somebody else. You know, that'll be my best advice. And if you're in the Bay Area, or my bad, yeah, if you're in the city or you're in the Bay Area, you know you can always tap in with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm an open book. I'm not no gatekeeper. I'm here to help. You know what I'm saying? Like and show love and you know, yeah.
It you know, speaking to that, is it a competitive industry or everybody can eat here?
Bro, I've never competed with anybody in my life, like for anything, like not for attention, not for a bag, not for. So I'm on an island by myself, bro. That's how I really look at it. Like none of these companies around here can do what I do. I'm really from where my store is, like you know what I'm saying. So whole different story, whole different ball game entirely, you know. And so we have a natural connection to our customers, you know. And so we don't have to go pay some, you know, hey, come here, long hair kid. You know, I want you to put on these sunglasses and a beanie, put a blunt in your mouth and a skateboard or whatever else. You know, hey, I want you to have a microphone in your hand while you smoking and, you know, wear your pants like this, wear some urban clothes. And we don't got to do that. That's naturally us. You know what I'm saying? So we're locked in and we in tune with, you know, with this side of the industry. So they can't do that. They got to pay somebody to do that shit. That's just us naturally. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different approach altogether. So I'm not competing with nobody but myself, and that's just that. It's always been like that.
Going back to, you know, trying to make a commitment to social responsibility, especially to this new generation, and coupling that with the demand of running a business. How do you keep yourself going?
Say it one more time, bro. My bad.
So, you know, just focusing on giving something back to the community,
Right.
and then like, you know, you running a business in the cannabis industry. Like,
right.
how do you keep yourself going? Like, because to me it sounds like a bunch of burnout, and like you got to look out for the snakes in the grass. Like, what are some things you're leaning into to keep your cup full?
That's a good question. I think when you do things that you really are passionate about, it's less of a headache or a task. I know what I signed up for, and so it can be. You know, we're human too, though. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you're gonna have situations where you're exhausted or you experience some type of fatigue or whatever the case. But I don't do it, you know, strictly for profit or for whatever else. Like, yeah, that's a part of it, but that's a big reason of why I signed up. And so giving back to the community is mandatory. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Makes me feel good. You know, it makes me feel like I'm, you know, doing what I set out to do, which is changing the culture around here. You know what I'm saying? So I want to impact, you know, everything. San Francisco got a lot of hate, a lot of negativity, a lot of self-hate. You know what I'm saying? And I look at the other communities around here, and I see how they're flourishing. You know, and they got each other, and you know. We don't have that. We got the polar opposite. You know what I'm saying? Every chance we get, we cutting throats and, you know, backdooring something or whatever the case. And I personally, I understand it and I see it. And who gonna be the one? You know what I'm saying? So that's just my take on that. So I don't get tired of that because that's my entire mission around here. You know what I'm saying? If you know the history of Filmo and everything that's happened, it's like the shit gets me mad, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, and so Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to overdo it or over
Yeah.
elaborate, but yeah, it's like I'm on a mission. So
Yeah, I feel that.
yep. Yep.
And then last one is, have you seen or do you have any ideas of some innovative approaches to your business model that have worked or some things that you're interested in trying?
That's a good question. Innovative models. We definitely have like a unique layout, you know what I'm saying, at the
Yeah.
store in terms of aesthetically, you
Yeah.
know, the visuals. So when you walk in the store, we got the digital menus up and that kind of thing. And so we'll be implementing my boy AC, who I work with, was the operations manager up there. He's he's a cat from Chicago, good dude, you know, honorable. You know, he's got some ties to the tech industry where they're trying to do this like I don't want to say too much because I think they got some proprietary type
Sure.
software, and so he's talking about revolutionizing the shopping experience. You know, I kind of say it. I leave it like that. I phrase it like that. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And so you know, merging tech with the
Yeah.
cannabis experience and so forth. And yeah, so that's one thing we're doing down the line. Shout out to my boy AC. And then yes, I mean that's one example. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Sure. I like it. Um, so I know when you and I first spoke at the shop, you were telling me that you wanted to get as much exposure as possible, really promote the shop to people. And what do you want people to know about Obsidian?
I mean, it's so many things that I want to say there. Some of the things that we mentioned in this interview so far, but I was told the funny thing is I actually don't like being in front of the camera. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I don't like talking in front of people. You know, I mean, I don't mind it, but it's not my thing though. You know what I'm saying? So I was told early on, like, hey, listen, the cannabis space is rough right now. The only way you're going to be successful is if you let people know about your story. And so, it's a lot of stores shutting down. It's a rough space right now. So I was told, by someone who I, trust and admire their experience in this space, you know, they told me straight up, like, you got to tell your story. And that's what's going to allow people to buy into your brand, just being authentic, being you. And so that's what I want people to know. That's what, that's a part of it. That's a part of the success. You know what I'm saying? We got to be able to get our story out and have people understand,
Oh, we're good. I don't know what happened there, but
okay, all good.
yeah,
Yep.
you can keep going.
Yep. So I just want people to understand, where we come from, our mission and our vibe, and that we're here to make, some changes and
Yeah.
shake some shit up, do something different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And then, what are some future plans that you have you're excited about? Maybe some collaborations. Have you thought about that yet?
I got some nothing that I really care to talk about. Nothing that's materialized at the moment. There's a lot of stuff I'm working on.
Sure.
To be honest with you, but again, just being me, I wouldn't do it no justice or myself no justice by talking about something that ain't 100% solidified. You
Sure.
feel me? So
Sure.
yeah, there's a lot of things I got my hands in. Yeah, I mean, outside of cannabis, it's a lot of things too. So yeah, like I'm on the real estate side. All type of stuff, not sales, but owning.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, that type of thing. I've all type of stuff, man.
More shops, maybe?
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what, bruh. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that one. Yeah, absolutely more shops expanding in San Francisco. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're definitely if God willing we're successful, and we keep going at the pace that we're going at, and we keep getting the support that we're getting, and the love that we're getting, that we are able to expand throughout San Francisco and then be a regional local. I got my eye on some places out of state right now, some relationships, and so be a multi-state operator, be
Wow.
vertical, on the whole process from seed to sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the I want to say the midterm goal. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We got short, long, mid, long, and so yep.
And having like your own strain? Is that possible?
That's easy, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
You ever think about doing that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll have an in-house
Green
brand.
thumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know a lot of I got a lot of friends that grow.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
You know, we're definitely tied in with some people that are experts on the subject and that are reputable. People in the space. So yeah, our own strain, our own in-house brand is for sure on the short term. So we'll be doing that real soon. Yeah, Obsidian will have a strain and an in-house brand for certain.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. And where can folks find you if they have any questions, if they're thinking about getting into the industry, or just, want to connect?
For sure. I'm on Instagram. It's Alex_passport, like the kind you travel with. That's my main thing. I don't really have too much other social. Oh, actually, we have Obsidian San Francisco on IG as well. That's the business page, Obsidian San Francisco. So OBSIDIAN San Francisco. And yeah, those are my main social media, contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, appreciate you coming
Appreciate
on.
you, bro. Yes, sir.
A lot of gems for us,
Yes,
a lot of
sir.
insight, a lot of wisdom.
Yes, sir.
If you have any questions about the industry, if you're looking to get into it, or if you're looking to connect and collab on some community projects, I definitely encourage you to tap in. With that, I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. We out.